There, we've got a clock. And then we just wait for this screen. And there we go. And I gotta make sure to do that. And that. And that. I think that's everything. Welcome, everybody. Let's see here. Looks like we've got a test post from Roger Overstreet. Howdy. Fire Ant Farm says, howdy, listening from the road on the way to Austin. Don't worry, eyes on the road. That's pretty important, I think. Alaraxic Alexander says, good morning, all. Roger Overstreet says, I just got some new green stuff and milliput in the mail, so I'm going to modify a Hellbrute and then winterize the motorcycles here in New London, Ohio. We have a New London, Wisconsin. It's not that far away from here. Emily says, good morning, fam. Wub says, hail. Emily says, boy, howdy. Someone just got off the flight at a dead run. I've been there. Hope that they make their connection. I don't know that I've ever had to make a dead run, but I have had to hustle a couple of times. Best ever, though, was I landed at a gate and my connection was at the very same gate. So I just got off the plane and then sat around for a bit and then just got back on the plane. That was actually spectacular. Jesse Daniels says, hey from Milwaukee land where it's sunny and I need to go do the last mowing of the year and put summer away, then find the last batch of things I need to rattle can prime. Yeah, it's currently sunny here too. I don't see myself mowing the lawn today. That's just not going to be happening. It probably needs it, but you know, it'll snow eventually and then no one will notice. Let's see here. Kit Lindquist says, hi everyone. Trey Terrell, I'm mispronouncing one of those, says, howdy from Highway 95 in Texas. I'm riding along with my wife today while she finishes up the Hill Country Yarn Crawl. That sounds like something my wife would enjoy. My wife is currently away on a women's weekend with a bunch of her friends, and they're probably maybe doing some shopping. It's hard to say. I know that she was... I texted with her a little bit back around, 10:30 or so, and she said they were still sitting around and breakfasting. So at the house, they weren't, I don't think, going anyplace. Emily says that she is waiting to board her connection to work. The hustle never ends. Yeah, no, that's true. John K says, hello, first time. Hello, John K. Good to have you here. Mac the Maker says, hello all from sunny, I assume, Arizona. No longer in the land of Illinois. Emily welcomes John K. to the cult, club. Let's see here. Oh, geez, see, already scrolling. What else have we got? Jesse Daniel asks Roger Overstreet if your New London becomes New Dublin in March for a few days. Yeah, that's the same. Yeah, we get that here in Wisconsin for reasons, and I don't know why it is, but the New London, Wisconsin, right around Memorial Day, changes the name of the city to New Dublin. I'm assuming there must be a lot of Irish folks there. It's a thing. Like, they change the sign on your way into town and the whole deal. Yeah, it's a thing. Let's see here. John says, oh, it's a cult. I'm okay with that. Yeah, no, that's fine. What else here? Trey says, Emily, what airport are you waiting at? Evidently, Pete Smith says, greetings from Scotland. Excuse me, Scotland. BB says, hello for the first time from a chilly Manitoba. I'm assuming it's Manitoba, but maybe it's Manitoba. That's fun. Thanks for coming along. Frankie Lee Bailey says, joining via the Camaro's Bluetooth. Be on in about 20 minutes. Oh, that sounds like fun. Saber's Edge 68 says, hi from Winnipeg, listening to this as background as I dig through 10 years of stuff looking for an invoice I need for an insurance claim. Mac the Maker, you are correct. Being a grown-up is no fun. Yeah, no, that is a lot of fun. No, the opposite of fun, actually. Let's see. Where else here? VJ Morph says, evening all, just got in from the club. Out there shaking it at the club like this, I'm assuming. Joseph says, Mac the Maker, hi, I got a printer issues I got to pick your brain about. Yeah, I've done that myself, where I've said, hey, Mac, I've got questions about printers. I've honestly, actually, I was going to ask Frankie Lee Bailey because you were posting something recently about resin printers, and I am interested in getting a resin printer, but I want the least smelly resin possible. That is literally my biggest concern. The rest of it, I kind of don't care. I want it to do good work, obviously, but the most important thing for me is I want it to be the least stinky possible, because it's going to have to stay in the house. I can't put it in the garage. And also, I don't really have a good venting situation in the basement, so there's that. Emily says that she's in Salt Lake. Oh, I've been to the Salt Lake airport when going to Valhalla. That's where it is. Let me see here. Mac the Maker says, beautiful Arizona, 75 and sunny. Well, that does sound nice, actually. Joseph Benarowitz? Maybe mispronouncing that. Raining here in Georgia, no quad flying today. Maybe painting instead later. You know, if I was not into wargaming as the hobby, it would probably be maybe quad. I think that's probably what I would end up doing instead. But as it turns out, I'm very, very, very much trying not to have too many hobbies. Taking my own advice, strangely enough. So yeah. The Noob Painter says, all right, got to hop in my car and head out to a family reunion. You're officially my podcast for the drive as long as 4G holds out. Well, I'm glad to help, hopefully. Have fun with your family reunion. I don't know. Sometimes those are good, sometimes not so good. VJ Morph says, okay, all the people participating in the Irregulars mini swap, we are getting close to the end, so let's get those minis varnished. It's true. Whoops. Jesse Daniels says, New London goes to New Dublin due to it having a large Irish settlement, such as, and the fact Bear Creek has a lot of Irish, which is 10 miles away from New London. Okay, I kind of figured it was a lot of people from Ireland. That would make sense. Emily says that Adam is resin curious, has a phase in college. Yeah, no, that's true. Jesse Daniels says, I second that comment on the resin printer. I'm tempted to get one as well. I've had, in the last month, Anycubic and Elegoo, and maybe a third company that I haven't heard of. But at least two companies, if not three companies from China, have reached out to me and been like, hey, we saw your video about, well, several of them obviously are saying that they've watched the videos, but they haven't watched the videos. You can tell from what they're saying, which is fine, whatever, it's marketing. But they've been like, oh, let's talk about, a thing. One of the companies, and I forget which company it is now, but they always put like a price. They always are like, oh, we'd love to talk to you about blah, blah, blah. And then they always say like something like $900 in the subject line. Like, hey, we're going to pay you $900 to talk about our stuff. And then if you start reading the thing, at the end of the actual like email they send you, it says something about how like, oh, that number doesn't relate to anything or something. It's just like, it's the weirdest thing. They're like, it's like they threw it in there to get people to go, oh, $900, you say. And then at the end, they're like, oh, that number is just a number we put in the thing. It doesn't really mean anything, which is weird. As it turns out, I have turned all of them down because, like, full transparency, I really don't want to take any free stuff from China right now. You know what I mean? Like, all of the crazy shenanigans that's been going on with the NBA and Blizzard and all this Hong Kong stuff and everything like that. Like, I just, how many of these different companies, like, I don't want some company to send me a free printer and then I say something that they don't dig and then they get all shirty with me or whatever. I just don't care. So, if I'm going to end up getting a resin printer, and it will probably come from China, Lord knows. I mean, I don't know where else you get electronic crap these days for the most part. I'll be buying it, and then they can stick it in their ass if they have some sort of problem with something that I say. Now, obviously, I'm not the NBA, I'm not Blizzard, I'm not, anybody super important or anything like that. But it just, like, after all this stuff and this news I've been seeing recently, I'm just like, yeah, I don't really want to get anything free from any of these companies, thanks. So that's where that's at. But I am interested in a resin printer as long as it is not smelly and So that's, yeah, I do want to pull the trigger pretty soon. Let's see here. What else? Oh, and then everything. I don't know what the problem is lately, but the chat window, I've got it full height of my screen, but everything is only in the top half, and I cannot get it to stretch down, which I assume is my problem. Let me see here. Emily thinks that we're going to need to see VJ Morph demonstrating his booty shaking at the next DMX. I suppose, sure. VJ Morph says, I see you launched the new posters. How are they selling? We'll be picking one up next week. Well, you may want to try to pick one up this weekend because there's a 10% off coupon, just FYI. That's the thing. T-shirts now available. To get the coupon, you just the word is minions. I'm gonna make up a thing for tomorrow for the big live show that has the coupon code, and the coupon code goes until midnight. Well, technically 11:59 on Sunday, which is tomorrow. So it's about roughly a day and a half from now is when it ends. So, but they're doing okay. It's not setting the world on fire. I mean, a lot of people seem to like the design and are talking about it, but and I've sold some posters on like a t-shirt, but honestly, because of the sale, I've had more people buying the live, laugh, blood from the blood to the blood, whatever, that shirt, and I'm like, well, so we'll see. My little punching bag in the back of my throat is a touch swollen this morning. I don't know if I snored a bunch last night and my wife wasn't here to poke at me. So I just snored all night. Maybe that's swollen that way. I don't know. It's just bugging me a little bit. Mac the Maker says, Anycubic keeps emailing bribes to take down my negative review on Amazon. Yeah, I've been hearing about that, actually, Mac. So Mac posted a negative review because he got a bad Anycubic Photon, I think, or Photon S, one of the two. And so he said, hey, these are the problems. And Anycubic keeps emailing him and saying, well, we'll give you $40 to take it down and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, that's not cool. So my plan is not to buy an Anycubic. Currently, it's either a Frozen Shuffle that I'm interested in or the Elegoo Mars, which is a terrible name, Elegoo. I don't know. But, what are you going to do? It's kind of like the name for, like, drugs. You know how, like, medicine, those names keep getting weirder and weirder and weirder so that they're all different from each other? Eventually, it's just going to be just a collection of consonants. Let's see here. VJ Morph says a full day at the club tomorrow as there is a big day party on from 1 to 11 p.m. That is a long day party. Mac the Maker says that Frozen is from Taiwan. Oh, well, maybe that makes me more interested in Frozen then. Emily says, no joke, it's been crazy. Watching the news hurts my head. Yeah, I get you there. Trey says, I'm right there with you, Adam. It's a little weird right now, yeah. Alarixic says, yeah, all the HK stuff is rough. Deleted my Blizzard account. I might have a Blizzard account. I would have to go and figure out how to get the password back from it and then figure out a way to delete it. And so I'm like, well, seems like a lot of work right now. I don't think I've used it in probably a decade. So maybe it's been deleted at this point. I kind of hope so. VJ Morph says, off to Melbourne on Tuesday to meet up with John, my mate from Pittsburgh, who I was spending time with before TMX, which I was getting to hang out with you guys as well. Oh, well, we appreciate that. Joseph says, I'm having issues with an Anycubic printer I'm trying to fix for a friend. If I buy another filament printer, it'll be a Prusa. Yeah. Soda Addict says, putting together my Beastgrave and Cities of Sigmar minis today. Also just ordered a shirt from the merch bunker, and I realized I forgot to apply the coupon. Oh, well, that's a bummer. I'm not sure how to fix that. I mean, you could try to cancel it and then start over again. That's a potential. Because I don't think that they don't start printing instantly. So you've probably got some time if you wanted to try doing that. VJ Morph says, okay, good to know about the discount. We'll get on it. VJ Morph says, so it's just you and the cats this weekend. Yes. Right now, my plan is, let's see, my plan for today is after I get done doing this live show, I have to work on, I have to build 7 stormtroopers, a squad of stormtroopers, which I don't need for my army, but I do need for a video I'm doing. So I have to build them this afternoon, which probably I'll get done. And then around 6 p.m., I have to go to the volunteer theater that I volunteer at, the not-for-profit, the Time Community Theater downtown. Tonight we are showing Hocus Pocus, which is, the Halloween thing with Bette Midler and whatnot. And, and evidently there's a very good chance it will sell out the theater. Now, this is Facebook math, which is no kind of math, as it turns out. But every year we do Rocky Horror Picture Show in September. And so the president of the thing, who does the majority of the social media, he was like, well, the Rocky Horror Picture Show event had like 700 people say that they were interested, and about 350 showed up. And so he was like, currently Hocus Pocus, the event on Facebook, says that 2,300 people are interested. Well, we only have 400 seats, so we may sell out, which is crazy, but there it is. So anyway, I'm going to be selling tickets, I guess. Thinking about wearing a fez. A little bit, kind of. There's like an actual old-timey like ticket booth where you're sort of like outside and it's curved and it's, glass and all that stuff. And I'm thinking about wearing the fez, but I'm not sure. So yeah. And then after that, I come home and then probably some priming and stuff like that. And the idea is that tomorrow after the Every Other Sunday show, I'm going to go to the studio and try to shoot a video about how to use contrast paints to paint stormtroopers, that whole thing. And hopefully that's the Friday video for next week. We'll see. But that's the plan. And then my wife comes home sometimes Sunday evening / late afternoon. Hard to say. So yeah. Let me see what else. VJ Morph, yay, just got my download code for In Search of Darkness Kickstarter. 2 hours and 40 minutes of 80s horror interviews and stuff. So much goodness. That does sound like fun, yeah. Emily wants to know when they're going to be showing Jurassic Park at the theater so that I can get that dino costume. Yeah, so that's... Several years ago, when I was in between jobs, we played Jurassic Park, and I was like, I really want to get one of those inflatable T-Rex costumes and then like dance around out in front of the place to get people to come in and watch the movie. But they were like $125, and I was like, in between jobs, and I'm like, that's just not going to happen. So I've been waiting for us to run one of the Jurassic Park movies again so I can pull the trigger and do that and have a reason, as opposed to just buying one because I want one. Although it is getting close to Halloween. Anyway, yeah, but so I don't know. Hopefully soon, honestly, because I would like to get one, especially after all of the dinosaur costumes that we saw at the Nova Open. It was so odd. It was just random. Evidently, for some reason, because it was the 10th year anniversary, they decided that their mascot was like a dinosaur with lasers on its head. I don't know why. I still don't understand what that was all about. Is maybe an inside joke that I wasn't a part of. But then, like, one of the first nights of Nova, when we're hanging out up in the bar upstairs, then all of a sudden, like, these two people come in the inflatable costumes, the inflatable dinosaur costumes. If you follow me on, like, Instagram, you probably saw the picture of Sam and this lady, a police person, and then 2 dinosaurs, and that was weird. But by, like, Saturday night, I think there were 5 or 6 people in those costumes, which was, I don't know what was going on there. VJ Morph says, any new updates on Hot Mess and Nick's Tea? So I've got the idea finished, like, in my head for the Nick Raimondo t-shirt. I showed a couple of people at TMX a drawing that I had done of Nick. It was basically, I just kind of traced a photo, and I was an inker, but it was on top of a photo instead of pencils. And I think I need to do that. I think everything needs to be thicker, so I'm going to give it another run over and then do some other stuff to it, some textures and things like that. But now I know, like, besides just the illustration, I now know, like, what the words are going to look like and what the rest of it's going to look like. So that is actually, I've been using this Google Keep, which is a great little app. It gives you like a to-do list, and then you can access it when you're on your phone, or you can access it on the web and stuff like that. It looks like that doesn't help. Anyway, it's on there, so it's coming. As far as Hot Mess is concerned, I just need to find. I don't know. I'm trying to kind of get back into. So you guys probably noticed that last week on Sunday I put up at 9 a.m., which would normally be every other Sunday show time. I put up a Sam video. So I think what I'm going to try to do. I was doing those videos on Mondays, sometimes earlier part of this 2019. I think my plan now is actually to do them instead of Mondays, to do them on Sundays at 9. So basically you either show up and you find a video like Sam, or a video like a miniature hot mess, or a hobby progress vlog, or something like that at 9 on a Sunday morning, or you show up and you find the live show, one of the two. So I'm going to try to get back into that now, especially now that I'm working 1 day a week dedicated to the channel. Like on Fridays, I'm not going to work at Milk Can. I'm working, so I work 4 days a week now at Milk Can. I don't work 5 days a week at Milk Can. So I've been doing that so that Friday I get to work on the channel and the studio and all that kind of jazz. So that's been really cool. Wubda says, I've got a mini photo booth. I'll show off the results in Discord on my favorites. Well, that's good. Yeah, those I like having those little things to put your minis in so you can see them. What is that weird noise? I think it's my computer, probably. Kelly Audio says, hey guys, finishing 2 squads of my Legion Stormtroopers today. Myself, what are you guys hobby rocking today? I actually, the new, like my local shop finally got the new starter for Legion, with the clones and the droids and all that jazz, and a couple other boxes of stuff. But the other thing that I got, which I didn't even realize was coming out yet, and I picked up last night, was the upgrade card pack. So basically what this is it's like the little upgrade cards that you use for the game that, like, normally you would have to, like, oh, I really want this upgrade card, but it only comes in this guy's, in like, oh, well, it only comes in the Fleet Troopers or whatever, so I have to buy a box of Fleet Troopers to get that card, even though I don't necessarily want Fleet Troopers, let's say. And that was always kind of a pain with X-Wing, too. Well, what these guys finally decided to do, which I think was smart, because they're dealing with people who are playing miniatures and not people who are, like, playing X-Wing, and that's more of a gateway-style game. They finally were like, well, we're just going to sell packs for people who want the cards but don't want to have to buy the extra box, and I think that was a smart thing to do. So I guess there's going to be a second one of these coming eventually, like a second series, but nonetheless, that's cool. People thinking that the Fez idea is a good idea. Yeah, no, I think that's maybe very possibly the case. I mean, it's Halloweenish, sort of, Let me see here. Fez idea. Finishing up my mini swap model and then on to some Stormcast Eternals and Warcry. Sure. Mac the Maker says, did you get a new video capture card, Adam? No, it just got cooler outside and inside. So I do honestly think that it is heat related. So I'm not exactly sure how to fix that in the summer, although hopefully by next summer, and this will make some of you sad, very possibly many of you sad, but hopefully, eventually, the plan is to move all this crap so it's no longer in the basement, it's no longer in the dining room, and I'm moving it into the basement, which A, will be cooler in the summer, so less problems with the video thing. The downside is that probably Nick's going to stay up here, so there's that. Honestly, one idea that I had was to just do a green screen and then just, like, no one except for maybe Irregulars would ever know that I am not in the dining room anymore. Just, like, take a picture, like, I'm not in this shot, and then just take that shot and then have that be behind me in the green screen. I'm not sure. But yeah, I do want to eventually get all this stuff moved down to the basement. But I am lazy, so there's that. Let's see here. Emily says that there were many dinos, occasionally humping. It was wild. Well, I mean, that's what you do when you're in a dino suit, I guess. Oh, shoot. Where'd it go? There we go. Paul Noxie 47 says, hey, people, just a bit late as I had to walk the dogs. Well, dogs need walking. That makes it work. VJ Morph says, you mean Tracer, Adam? I do. It's true. I have not ever really been a particularly I went to school for art and I can kind of draw. You'll notice I'm not doing that whole Inktober thing like on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. I'm not great at drawing. It's one of those deals where like again, if I wasn't doing this as a hobby, I would probably push harder into that maybe. But I would have to like catch up quite a bit. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I have no problem as a graphic artist when I'm making a T-shirt to take a picture and then trace my own picture. I got no problem with that. So yes, tracer away is what I will call it. Yes. Trace says we've arrived at Yarnorama. Be back in a minute. Well, that's a good name. I think so. Emily asks, do you work on Game 4 on Fridays too, or just Tabletop Minions? Just Tabletop Minions. So, like I've been working at Milk Can for like 3 years and had my annual review or whatever, and it went well and everything was fine. And then got done with that and I was like, look, I got an idea. How about instead of giving me a raise, how about I just work Monday through Thursday now? And then on Friday I can work on the channel and do that stuff. And they said yes. So that's what's been happening for about a little over a month. So the benefit to them is that as the channel grows and I'm still talking about Game 4 like I am right now. So it's a benefit to the app as well. And both of them have read like that what is it called, the 4-Hour Work Week, that book, that kind of stuff. And so we've been, when you work especially when you work in the computer field, like we've got at least one guy who works from home every Friday because he and his wife just had a baby, so he just works from home on Friday because he's like, well, then I can stay in my pajamas. And he's still working, doing stuff. He's on Slack and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're flexible, but now this is my new gig. Is I'm paid the same as I was previously, but now I just work Monday through Thursday. So it's really nice, and it's been a benefit for the channel. Like honestly, well, maybe it's been longer than a month because the first day where I got to work just on stuff myself for Friday was the day that I shot the photo of the I Want to Pachow thing. That's like that was part of what I did that first day. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's been good. Let me see here. People talking about dino humping, which is fine. Liquid cooled computer would fix that. No, that's true, actually. I did get a new PC at work because I'm doing more video editing, obviously, with the Game 4 podcast and stuff like that. And we went online and ordered it from Origin, I think. And like standard, basically, it came liquid cooled. And I didn't even really think about it. And then when we got it and then hooked it up, I'm like, God, this thing is cold. It's just quiet. It was just so quiet. It was crazy. So yeah, it was really interesting. Even when I'm rendering, like in the past, when I used to render on this Mac laptop, it would start to sound like it was a hovercraft, it was going to take off. But man, even with this thing, when it kicks into high gear, it's really quiet. I really wish that my new PC was water cooled, but I did not build it that way, or have it built that way. I am not in the situation to be building computers anymore. I will pay to have them done that way instead. So, see, yeah, and people, it's not that the computer, I think, is overheating. I literally think that it's not that the computer's overheating, that's what's causing the camera problem. I think it's literally the stick, because this is not an internal capture card, it's an external, like, little doohickey. The camera's HDMI plugs into it, and then it has a USB that I then plug into the computer and with an extension cord. And I think it's the actual stick that's getting hot when it's summer. So I guess I could put fans on it, maybe, like blow fans directly onto the stick. I don't know. Right now it seems to be good, so that's good. Emily says your wife is just going to have to get another cello case and Nick will have to move downstairs with you. Well, I mean, honestly, it's not the worst possible idea. See how much that costs. I mean, she would love a new cello, sort of, but I don't know. It's not, yeah. If she played a lot more, then it would make sense, but she doesn't. Not as honestly. The band that she plays the most in, for the most part these days, she doesn't even play cello. She plays washtub bass. So, which actually she's got a show Not this coming week, but the week after. It's the 30th, I think. They're doing a Halloween show at the coffee shop downtown. Kelly says, hey, Adam, did you ever get Infinity? Metal Models be damned, but it seems fun. I've done 2 demos of Infinity. One of them was Sam, actually, because Sam's a fan of that game. I just don't like it. I don't know what it is. The artwork is cool. The models are cool, although I don't like building them. I've built 2? I've built at least 1, but I think I've built 2. And they are very fiddly, in my opinion. They're like nearly Malifaux fiddly, but with metal instead of plastic. The game itself, for some reason, like as I've played it and the rules were explained to me and all this kind of stuff, it feels to me, this is just personal opinion, it feels to me like a game that was written by a person who's never played a war game before. Like, it just doesn't follow a lot of the same tropes that a lot of war games seem to follow. There's just a lot of weird little things about the game that I just don't enjoy. Like, there was a point where Sam's character was running up behind like a kind of a building and then running out on the top of the building, and then there was like a little raised like half wall that he was going to run behind and then like snap to cover, hopefully, and be able to shoot at me. But he ran up the backside of the building, ran towards me, and didn't have enough movement to get within like an inch or something like that, or a half inch of the edge of the wall. And then so he was like, well, you can shoot me. And I'm like, okay, yeah. He's like, yeah, I won't have any cover. I'm like, why not? He's like, because I'm not up against the piece of terrain. I'm like, you're on a piece of terrain. He's like, yeah, but I'm not up against the wall. And there was that spot where there's like a little hole in that thing. He says, you can shoot at me with no cover. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. You started out behind a building, and now you are still obscured. But because you're not touching the thing that is obscuring you directly, like, just, it's weird stuff like that I was just kind of like, no. Plus, I've looked at the army builder online, and it confuses the hell out of me, and there's just so many different like factions and things like that, and it's never struck with me, which is unfortunate because I've got a couple of friends that play it locally, not too many, besides Sam and stuff. And there's a bit of a like there's a decent sized like tournament kind of convention-y event thing that happens up near Wausau, I think, or maybe it's by Wapaka. It's one of the two. Just not my thing, though. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. I've had a lot of people ask me about it, and it's just, the game style itself is not interesting to me, and I don't know why. So, people talking about green screen being a good idea. I like the idea. Mac the Maker just ordered a $25 capture card, expecting great things from it. Yeah, totally. Sounds totally legit. Oh, dang it. God. Friggin' stupid. Ugh. Let me see there. All right. Kickstarter for the wife for a new cello case. I don't think that's necessary. I don't think they're that expensive. Cellos can be expensive. We looked at a cello one time online for Emily when she was thinking about buying a new cello before the one that she's got now, which is actually a used cello that she bought from somebody else. But it was black carbon fiber, and it was awesome looking. It was super cool, but it was $6,000. So yeah, no, she didn't buy that. Now, but the case itself, I can't imagine that it's more than a couple hundred, maybe $300. I'd have to double check, but yeah. Adam, would you accept an oil painting of Nick and your current background as a new background for the basement? I don't know. Maybe you can do something like that. Wub says, what if Nick Raimondo got his own show? It would be very quiet, because Nick's not much of a talker. So there's that. VJ Morph, it says, yes, it would be rather quiet. I agree. It looks like he's got something to say, but he's just kind of like... That's basically it. Pretty much his entire... Yeah. Nick's show could just be a picture of painted minis and then Nick reacting. Well, that'd be sort of funny. Actually, I could see like doing a little episode of that, but probably not an entire channel. That seems like a lot of work. Alaraxic, I'm murdering that name. I apologize. I work at 2 game stores. One uses Slack, the other doesn't. Really wish that the other shop would. It's so helpful. Honestly, after using Slack now for 3 years, I really prefer Discord. Like, I know that Discord and Slack are nearly the same thing. It's just that Discord works better. Like, Slack, even though it's designed by developers for developers and whatever, all that kind of stuff, it's like the guys at work who are developers are like, yeah, the code is really garbage. It's poorly optimized. There's times when like I don't get messages and then all of a sudden they show up all at once, and there's just all kinds of weird stuff. And honestly, Discord works so much better, but Discord's like entrenched in gaming to some degree. So if you go to a client and go, hey, they're like, well, how can we all have a conversation and keep track of all this stuff? And you want to go, let's hop on Discord. And instead you go, well, let's hop on Slack. So I'm just not a fan. The concept of it is very useful. And if you use both Slack and Discord, you will see there are obvious, Discord used a lot of stuff from Slack. They just did it in a way where the code works better. So, I don't know. Excuse me. Emily says, like the Pikachu picture. Actually, I thought about that. I've seen that Pikachu meme, where somebody says something, and somebody says something, and then it's always the Pikachu, like, ah. And I've thought about doing that, actually, with Nick. I haven't pulled the trigger yet. I need to find a good version of that meme and then, I don't know. I don't know if I would draw it and then purposely make it blurry like it is in the meme, or if it would be better to just take a picture. I don't know. I'm going to figure that out, though. I'll definitely work on that. Nick's reactions are a little predictable. That's also very true. Let's see. Oh, geez. VJ Morph says, I've always heard Nick's voice is more of a Pee Wee Herman type. I kind of think Beaker from the Muppets a little bit. Yeah. What else have we got here? I've always thought of the James Earl Jones voice for Nick. Wow, that's something. VG Morph says, pretty keen to get my new Blitz Bowl Undead team on Tuesday. Pity I'll have to wait to build and play it. Did you pick up any of the new Blitz Bowl teams from Barnes & Noble? I didn't know they were making new teams. No, I should take a look at that. I haven't been to Barnes & Noble in a billion years. That's maybe an exaggeration, but it's been a very long time. Kelly says, I think that the best rule set I've personally played is Bolt Action. What do you and everyone else think? I think that Bolt Action is cool. Bolt Action reminds me a lot of kind of like 5th edition 40K, but with a bunch of things fixed, which I like that concept. I wish that, I don't know, I think there's nothing wrong with being like, hey, we took this game kind of in general and fixed the stuff that we didn't like, and now it's our game. A little bit, without going too nuts. But I really feel like that's what happened with Bolt Action and Conflict 47 to some degree, is that those two games are just like straight up, like watching battle reports for Bolt Action is just like this. There's so many things in here that remind me of 5th edition, except they took all the stuff that sucked in 5th edition and fixed it. Specifically, the activation thing where you're pulling the dice out of the bag. That's brilliant, and I think that honestly, like, every game should have something like that. I know a lot of people, and I still don't understand it, I know a lot of people still dislike the random activation in Age of Sigmar, and I know that there are people out there who, like, amongst their friends, they just house rule it, where they do it like normal 40K, where we roll once at the beginning of the game, and then that's the way that we work it. I think that's terrible. I just think it's like, that drives me insane. It's the thing that I hate most about 40K, is the fact that you're rolling. Like, that's why I love Kill Team, because they fixed it in Kill Team. They looked at it and went like, nobody really wants to do that anymore. You know what I mean? And so, I don't know. I just, looking at the camera, yeah, that's not too bad. I had to use the tripod that this is on, like, to take some pictures recently, and then I set this back up today, and I'm not quite sure that it's quite exact. It's pretty close to where it was, so I'm just noticing where everything is. Yeah, but it's a decent rule set. The Bolt Action and Conflict 47, which I'm more of a Conflict 47 guy, if I'm honest, because, laser tanks, really, so definitely that. Let's see. Talking about Sam's streams. I know he's traveling this week, so he hasn't had any streams this week. Where is he this week? I think he's maybe in Minneapolis this weekend, or something like that. The ideas of being next to cover in order to receive its benefits is an older concept, especially since GW moved heavily onto true line of sight direction. I don't have a problem with it. Like, I've seen plenty of games before where, like, if you're trying to shoot at me, okay, I'm trying to fire at this model here, and then the model is over here, and the terrain is here. If I bump up against the model, even though there's nothing between you and I'm still up against and touching the piece of terrain. I would get some sort of benefit because I'm like maybe hiding in the weeds or something like that. That I get, like using that concept. And if I'm not touching it, well, then obviously there's nothing in between us, so I can fire. But if there's something in between us, but I'm not touching it, like there's a wall and I'm over here and you're shooting at me, then I don't know. There's a lot of different ways to do cover and that kind of stuff in games, and it's always interesting to me to kind of look at it and go, how do you think how should I do it and that kind of stuff. It'd be interesting to have a game. Well, I was gonna say it'd be interesting to have a game where there's no cover, but honestly, I think it'd be more interesting to have a game that's got a lot more cover. The problem is that if you get into really dense cover mechanics, that can slow the game down a lot. So yeah, I kind of like the way that the cover is working for the most part in current 8th edition. I like the way it works a lot, actually, in Kill Team. I haven't really looked at the rules for cover in Warcry. I should probably do that. Excuse me. Weird that you say that, says Alaxic, or Alaraxic. I have the issue of messages popping up all at once on Discord. Emily says, I didn't know they made new teams either. Which ones did they come out with? Talking about Blitz Bowl. Yeah, I didn't need to realize that. Maybe, are they just cards or are they actual boxes? Because that's interesting. I know that there's been new Blood Bowl team stuff, I think, but that's a little bit different. Barnes & Noble's doing boxed Chaos, Skaven, Undead, and Halfling teams. Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that. I mean, I work in like, there's no Barnes & Noble in Oshkosh, but in Appleton where I work, there is one, so I should check that out. Wub says, what sort of wargaming tropes would be a must-have in a game? Like, my issue with Infinity is that generally you have to roll low instead of rolling high, which you're like, well, that's not that big of a deal, except that sometimes you have to roll high instead of rolling low. Like, deciding to just kind of flip it like that is a little weird to me, because that's just another thing you have to remember. From what I understand, if I remember correctly, like if because you're generally using 20-siders, which I don't have a problem with. I know some people, I've got friends who are like, if a miniature game uses anything other than 6-siders, I'm immediately disinterested, which I don't get the concept of. But nonetheless, so let's say your target number to hit this guy is a 13. So you need to roll under 13 to hit, but if you roll exactly 13, then that's a crit, not like if you roll a 1, it would be a crit if you need to go low. So basically the idea is you need to roll low, except that to get a crit, you need to roll the number exactly. I mean, it's a gray area about whether that's important or not. You could say that the lower you roll, the more potential of a crit. So maybe you get a crit only on 1s, or maybe it's a crit on 1s and 2s, but saying you have to roll low to get your number in 13 is just in my mind, that throws me off. But then if you're going to do armor saves, it's all about rolling high, which, again, it confuses me because I'm dumb about that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that, I don't know. It's just odd to me. As far as tropes are concerned, I mean, I think that trying to come up with some sort of idea on how to do, initiative makes sense. I do generally like the more random kind of initiative, and I like the initiative kind of like I said, Bolt Action does it with the dice. If I was to make a game, I would totally steal that idea. Yeah, so stuff like that, I think, is, I don't know, there's a lot of different things. Like, it's interesting to me how in Warcry, it doesn't seem like there's any kind of is there no armor save? Or there's no roll to hit or something like that. You just basically, you hit them automatically, I think. I need to double check on those rules. But I know I saw a discussion online, people complaining about like some specific rule. Lord knows there's always complaints online about specific rules. But yeah, so what else have we got here? Let's see. Oh gosh. VJ Morph says, Discord just feels more accessible to me. Slack is so much more programmer nerd stink on it. Well, yeah, there's that too. Also, Slack is not free, whereas Discord basically is. Although there's a paid version you can use too. But yeah. Brad. Hey, Brad. Good afternoon, morning here in California. First Irregulars chat for me. Pleased to meet you all. Well, we're glad to have you. Absolutely. Glad that you were able to make it. Let's see here. Yeah. Sam's teaching a class, and I think he's catching up with Miniac at some point as well. Kevin Fowler says, I keep mishearing Necromunda. So the whole idea the reason that this cello case is named Nick Ramondo is because I was doing a video, and I don't remember if it was a Sunday video or if it was like a regular video in the studio, where I was talking about Necromunda a couple of times in the video, and YouTube's voice recognition system is scarily good. Like, it is, if you speak English clearly, even kind of clearly, it is scarily good at figuring out and putting in the closed captioning. So somebody was evidently watching the video later on, obviously, and they were reading the closed caption. The thing is that the YouTube algorithm or whatever couldn't figure out what Necromunda was. So instead, it thought it was a proper name named Nick Ramondo. And then someone mentioned that during a live show, and I thought that was funny and all that stuff. And then someone was like, well, I think that's the cello case's name. And then so that's how Nick got his name. And so, yeah, if you're hearing Necromunda, kind of, it's because that's where Nick got his name from. So that's the story. But yeah, definitely. Emily says, well, the door broke on the airplane. That's not good. They fixed it, so I'll be leaving the stream here shortly when we push back. I'll watch the rest on replay. I have much love. Well, have a safe trip there, Emily. Brad says that Warcry was written like Age of Sigmar cover, but they changed it in the FAQ to be line of sight cover. Interesting. Huh. Interesting. That's very interesting. Because, yeah, like, it seems to me like Warcry is so different. Like, Kill Team's everything in Kill Team reminds me quite a bit of 8th edition. Like, you have the same stat line, all that stuff. Warcry, it's just like, oh, it's all icons, and it's weird, and it's I honestly do wish that Warcry would have been a little bit more like Age of Sigmar Light, so that you play it and then it's very easy to transition into Warcry or into Age of Sigmar, and I don't know why they didn't do it that way. Warcry to me is still kind of an enigma, because it's like between, like, it's not just an Age of Sigmar version of Kill Team. You know what I mean? Like, Kill Team, you use normal 40k models, and then you can use them in Kill Team. Necromunda, you kind of have to use Necromunda models, and then you use them in the Necromunda game. And there's not really a place where you can use normal 40k models in Necromunda. Warcry, you can use their Warcry models, but you can also use Age of Sigmar models, which is sort of a strange thing, but it's cool that they did it that way. Oh, hey, my camera did lock up for a second. Well, isn't that fun? See, I should have, I spoke too soon. Oh, no, there it gets back. Anyway, so, yeah, I don't know. It's just odd. And the fact that they used all these icons, those icons in Warcry do really bother me, because I can't tell the difference between a half of them. I mean, physically, yes, I can go, well, this is different than that. But it's so hard in my mind to remember what some of these icons mean in comparison to just if they would have put a friggin' word there. And I know that it's probably because it's just easier for them to do it in multiple languages and all that jazz. But I'm like, so what does it mean when the skull is got a fist coming out of its mouth and it's wearing sunglasses? Oh, that's cover. Okay, great. I don't know. As a person who is a graphic artist, I do believe that sometimes we try to put too much into iconography, and I think that a lot of people who design icons sometimes are not good enough at it. Lord knows I'm not. I've worked in jobs before where, like, the client's like, well, we need an icon for all these different categories. And I'm like, cool. So one of the categories here in this, like, workshop is like how to work with sheet metal. What's the icon for sheet metal? And they look at me and they go, I don't know. That's your job. And I'm like, well, I don't know either, because it's, what is it, a square? I mean, just, so why don't we just say sheet metal class instead of making an icon next to it? And they're like, well, because icons are cool and more, understandable. Not when they don't make any sense, they're not, as it turns out. So anyway, I'm a little salty about that. It's been more than 3 years since I've worked for that company, and sometimes I still get a little shirty. Anyway, Warcry recover rules got fact as they were super dodgy. Well, that's probably important too. Whoop, everything bumped. Let me see here. Picked up eyeliner brushes from the dollar store. Can't wait to give some of my lieutenants some smoky eye. Well, I think it's important. Honestly, I love those, the big makeup brushes for dry brushing so much. Like, I don't want to use anything else anymore. Even when there's times when I've got like a little tiny area I need to get into some dry brushing, I try to find like the smallest possible dry, like actual like makeup style brush that I can get, so I can get in there, just because I think they work way better. That being said, I think a couple of lieutenants, I think there's some of those poses that could definitely use a bit of, a little rouge and a bit of a smoky eye. I think that'd be a good idea. VJ Morph says the cards for the Chaos and the Skaven were in the core Blitz Bowl box, but have copies in the team boxes. Undead and Halflings are new cards as well in the team box. Well, that's kind of cool. I could definitely see having fun with Undead. I should go look at those. I don't know about Halflings, but definitely the Undead I could see myself picking up. Let's see here. Alaraxic says Warcry uses what I think is a more elegant system. If terrain is between you and your target, and if that terrain is closer to your target than to you, then the target gets cover. Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, there's not... Like, Warcry's got a lot of, like, mainly kind of close combat stuff in it, so I suppose it doesn't come up too frequently. I mean, I guess, yeah, especially in Stormcast, there's some ranged weapon guys, I think, in Warcry, so there's that. BJ Morph says making crits in the target number just like it seems like an attempt to do something different for the sake of different. Yeah, to some degree. I do feel like some of the rules in Infinity are a little bit like, well, let's just do it different to make it different. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter a ton whether you're trying to, if your target number is 13 and you have to hit 13 to get a target versus hitting, say, like 1 to get a target. The benefit, though, to doing it that way, the 1 versus the 13, is that you could then broaden your crit possibilities. You could say that crits happen on a 1 or a 2 if you have to roll low to do better. You know what I mean? Whereas if you do that on a, if you want to widen your crit possibility and your target number is 13, well, then you have to now either say it happens on 12 to 13 or 13 to 14, or is it 1 off of 13, which means it's either 12 through 14, and it's a whole thing. So as a person who enjoys the concepts behind usability, like in design and in apps and things like that, a person who does that as a living, I look at game rules a lot of times. Like, I was just explaining to somebody relatively recently how back in the day, like literally up until 8th edition, your ballistic skill in 40K was, you took the number of your ballistic skill 4, and then you subtract it from 7 for reasons no one really knows why, and then that number 3 is the number that you need to roll higher, that number or higher on a 6-sider to see if you hit somebody with your gun. So yeah, so it was your ballistic skill subtracted from 7, no one knows why, and then that's the number. And then when 8th edition came along, they finally were like, we've been doing this for years and years and years. How about we just tell people their ballistic skill is 3 up? Or maybe 4 up, or whatever, and then you don't have to dick around with it and do the math in your head for no reason. And then finally, in 8th edition, someone's like, yeah, why don't we do that? So, again, that's a usability thing, and it just makes more sense. Like, I understand some people don't like in Age of Sigmar how, your to wound is a number. Like, oh, your to hit is 3 up and your to wound is 3 up. You're like, yeah, but you're a goblin. What if you're attacking a dragon or something like that? You're still wounding on a 3 up, but then they're like, yeah, but then the dragon's got so many more wounds, blah, blah, blah. I understand that whole toughness versus strength chart, that I get, and I think it actually makes a lot of sense. But the to hit thing, it just makes more sense to just say you have got a 3 up as opposed to saying you have a ballistic skill of 4 subtracted from a 7, and then you can figure out you got a 3 up. Just personal opinion. Anyway. Warcry doesn't have saves and has multiple wounds per hit, but it makes up for it by having higher wound counts. See, that's the I did realize. I agree, VJ, says Roger Overstreet. When I want deep rules, I play Starfleet battles. Other than that, I keep it on the easier side and not too convoluted. See, Starfleet battles, if you're talking about deep, oi, yeah, that does get deep. Definitely. Trey says, all right, I'm back. I pre-ordered the new Salamander stuff while I was waiting. Well, that sounds like fun. BJ Morph says, wow, that's the first time I've ever heard the Nick naming story. Well, it's a good bit of change from hearing about me sending his eyes for the millionth time. Yeah, no, that's how he got named, definitely. Whoop, and everything bumped again. Let's see here. LRX6 says, bit angry at GW for releasing a book with all the Warcry stats. Good that they are doing it ultimately, but they're very much pushed the factions cards like they would be the only way to play them. Yeah, and also those faction cards were like limited. Like, I think once they're gone, which is also kind of a weird and sort of, I don't know, I don't understand that either. I mean, having the book in my mind actually makes more sense. I bought some of the cards, like I bought the cards for my Spooky Boys, my Ghost Dudes, and I bought cards for, I think, Stormcast. So those will just be nice to have, but I don't know. To be perfectly honest, I have a bunch of things that kind of need to get done before Warcry. My idea was that I was going to start working on Warcry kind of next. I've already been working on the Bird Boys, and they're nearly done. But now, as it turns out, I've got a friend of mine who is becoming interested in Star Wars Legion. So I have an 800-point Empire list painted, done. I have currently in my garage 6 or 7 pieces of 3D printed stuff that has all been textured and needs to get now like painted and stuff like that, because I want to start doing that. So, and then I need to get working on Rebels, because basically he wants to play a little bit before he buys anything. But if I can convince him to play, then he will go in on that game, and he's also a very good painter. So he and I have been playing Kill Team, but he is always looking for another game to play, and so am I. So yeah, my friend Ben, who when I start doing battle reports, very probably Ben will be in a bunch of them, most likely, because he's a funny guy, he's a very good painter, and he's I don't know, and he's local, so there's that as a benefit too. Anyway, yeah, so that's one of the reasons why currently now I think that Legion, mainly the Rebels, are getting bumped up against, or higher than Warcry. There we go. Let's see here. Brad says, I'm waiting to see how GW releases the Warcry starter terrain. The teaser showed it as an AOS terrain box called Azurite Ruined a Chapel instead of Warcry Ravaged Lands branded box. That's interesting. Yeah. That's another thing, too. Like, I really like the terrain that came in the starter box, but now, since you can't get the starter boxes anymore, or I think they're out of print. I mean, you can probably get them. I know my local shop's got several. Yeah, seeing how they're going to be producing those and getting them out to people is going to be interesting to see how it makes Warcry work. I thought I had heard originally when they were first launching Warcry that this Warcry starter box was not going to be like as limited as the Kill Team one was, and now I've found out evidently that's not the case. So, I think it would be smart for them to try to keep some of those damn starter boxes in stock for a while in these kind of more beginner style, bringing people into the hobby style games, not gateway games. This is not the gateway. In my opinion, Warcry is not a gateway game. It's the game once you've gone through a gateway game and now you've landed on miniatures. Warcry, Kill Team, those are the games that like can be your intro into heading into the bigger army style games like Age of Sigmar or 40K. There's been a lot of discussion about that since Friday's video. People talking about, I think that Bolt Action is a great gateway game. And you're like, that's not a gateway game. That's an actual miniatures game. And I'm not making it clear, obviously, in the videos, but that's fine. Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. Paul Noxies is back. Just had a quick call from my dad. He just had a new headlight fitted, and the mechanic found a spanner still inside the car from the service 6 months ago. they probably were looking for that. Spanner equals wrench, right? Is that what we're talking about? I think so. It's better than finding like a scalpel still inside your body after surgery from 6 months ago. But still, it's weird that they just like set it in there and it was in there or whatever. Huh. Brad says, I'm really hoping to get a version of the Warcry starter board that folds down more. The expansion boards fit in my travel storage, but the original board does not. Yeah, I was surprised by that too a little bit. Wait. No, I take that back. I think that Kill Team was the same way, but then down the road, the ones that they sold were a good deal. Yeah, you're right. They folded down smaller, but the starter one in Kill Team was like that too. Yeah, I think you're right. Both Undead and Halflings have really great special skills and stats in Blitzball. There is some definite power creep. The Halfling skills are very good. I am surprised by that. I would think that Halflings would be sort of lousy at tiny football. But, yeah. Soda Addict is backing me up on that. The Kill Team starter board had that problem and only folded into 4, but the newer kill zones fold further. Yeah. To be fair, the box that I use to carry my Kill Team stuff around in is like one of those plastic boxes that you like put under your bed to keep stuff in, but it's not like super long, but it's just the right size that actually the Kill Team board that came in the original starter box fits in the bottom just fine. But I do also own a couple of the ones that fold up even more, and those are nice too. So yeah, I can see that. I also own, it's at the studio, I own a Frontline Gaming made 22 by 30 battle mats, and I bought a desert one when I was at LVO, I think, back in the beginning part of the year. Yeah, I like that one too. Trey says, Paul, I've found tools in the car before in areas I didn't remember getting service. Well, that's weird. Maybe you've got raccoons who are trying to take apart your car one piece at a time. I'm assuming that's got to be the answer. You know, it's Occam's razor. Let's see here. Getting all the languages in that was stupid. They should have just done all the cards in one pack in one local language. It was definitely an arse move on GW's part. It was odd getting that giant pack of cards and then only having one of them in my language. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably some sort of logistics thing. Let's see here. VJ Morph says, I built the Warcry terrain last week. Was the only thing I could build while my thumb was still healing. Now that it's all healed, I can get on with the mini swap. Well, that's good. Warcry is greater than Clown Wars. I get it. Okay. To be fair, I'm not getting into the clone stuff really at all. I'm not buying the new starter. I'm not getting either clones or droids. I'm sticking with just the Galactic Civil War stuff. That's kind of my jam. VJ Moore, speaking of stuff getting left in people after operations, never ask my wife, she's a nurse, about that. The stories will horrify you. Yeah, I don't want that. That sounds like a terrible idea. Trey says raccoons every time. Yeah, nature's little bastards is what they are. Although I love them. I don't know why, but they are. I think I love the concept of them. I love pictures of them. I love memes of them. But my wife and I did live in an apartment where we had raccoons in the ceiling at one point, and that was bad. So yeah, raccoons are awesome outside, not so good inside. Unless they're trained or whatever, or housebroken. I don't know. There's someone that I follow on Instagram, and they live in the Bahamas, and I assume that they are rich because their house is amazing, and everything is white all the time. Everything they buy, they don't buy anything unless it comes in white, as far as I can tell. And they have a dog, and then they have a raccoon named Pumpkin the Raccoon. So if you just do a search for Pumpkin the Raccoon, you will find this raccoon that lives in this amazing house. I mean, people live there too. It'd be weird if just the raccoon and the dog lived there by themselves, but you never see the people in the Instagram. So I guess possibly, well, I don't know. I don't think raccoons can use Instagram. Although monkeys can. Well, chimps. I don't know if you've seen that video before. It's a video of a chimpanzee holding a phone and looking at Instagram, and it's scrolling through the pictures and then looking at stuff, and it is tapping on the picture and then seeing it, and it even figured out the back button as far as I can tell. And I'm like, well, that's a little spooky. I mean, it could be fake, but it doesn't look fake. Raccoons equal trash pandas. It's true. This is one of the reasons why raccoons. A raccoon is my wife's patronus, for lack of a better term. But yeah, like there's nothing ever in the fridge. Well, that's not true. Rarely there are things in the fridge that my wife is like, nah, that's gone bad. I'm not going to eat that. And she's like, no, I'll eat that. I'm like, well, I'm not going to eat it. But yeah, so she's a bit of a trash panda herself, and she will tell you straight up that is true. Alaxrex said, my girlfriend just shouted pumpkin when you started describing the Instagram. Yes, pumpkin is I follow something on Facebook that's just pictures of raccoons, and I forget what it's called. Raccoon appreciation, something or other. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, pumpkin I follow on Instagram. So yeah, it just does look like I think that the people who run that Instagram, A, probably rich because their house is amazing, and B, somebody there's a photographer. Like that's, I think, really helpful. If you're trying to become some sort of Instagram whatever, you need to be good at photography. You know what I mean? That really helps. I feel as if I have a benefit as a YouTuber in that I have a background in graphics, I have a background in photography, I have a background, and all that kind of stuff. That really helps because I think there's a lot of YouTube channels out there that don't have that background, and it becomes difficult sometimes, and they either have to try to like farm that stuff out to people who do maybe they're a great painter, but they can't edit to save their lives, or they can't do graphics, that kind of stuff, and that's problematic. So I do feel I don't want to say blessed, but I'm happy that I have the ability, luckily, through a relatively long career of doing graphics and all kinds of stuff and going to school for photography and all that jazz. The downside, though, is that it does make me always want to buy cameras, like all the time. Like I was looking at another camera last night. I'm always wanting to buy cameras, and so that's not great. That's if I was like less of a camera nerd, I would probably not have as many cameras, I guess, is basically, yeah. Brad says, I enjoyed the new Gateway game video. I'm already working on getting my wife and friends into the hobby with Underworlds. For me, the gateways were Scythe and Anachrony, 2 games with great minis. The question is Scythe a gateway game or is it a board game? Because, and again, this is just this is semantics, me being pedantic, I suspect. But the idea basically is like, just because a board game has a lot of miniatures in it, again, like in the video, I talk about this like tipping point between like board games and miniatures. And I would say that a game like Underworlds fits like pretty much right on the fence, whereas, and to some degree, I would say that even like Zombicide like starts to head a little bit back towards board games, but it's still got a decent amount. A game like Scythe is way closer, I think, to board game because, and I've not played it, but I've watched it kind of played at conventions. It seems as if the miniatures, though very cool, are predominantly just like placeholders for like, I am taking over this area and it's not like, what is my range from this miniature to that miniature, or does this miniature have cover? Which is something that I think when you start to bring those concepts from miniatures into a more board game style game, like you do with Underworlds, like you do with frankly, like Zombicide and games like that, where you're like, I'm playing it on a board. It's a board game, obviously. I'm using little tiny miniatures and stuff like that, but I do have to count range to see if I can shoot these zombies, because my gun only goes this far. Or, and like there's different little things like that. Those little extra little pieces are what bring a game more, in my mind, into gateway game. That being said, there are tons and tons and tons of games out there right now that are straight up board games, but they come with a buttload of miniatures, which I think is still pretty cool. And it does get people kind of at least in the mind of doing that. Like I've got a friend, Matthias. He's one of the guys that runs Adepticon, and he is all in on Shadows of Brimstone. I don't remember exactly the name of the game, but he paints those miniatures like crazy. And I don't even know if that game is really a gateway game. I'd have to like actually sit down and play it. But man, does it come with a lot of miniatures, and they just keep cranking out more of them. And he's just posting pictures on Facebook all the time of him painting the miniatures, and he's doing great work. And honestly, I mean, he helps run like one of the best, well, basically, admittedly, the best miniatures convention in America. Like him and Hank are like the two main guys at Adepticon, and he has played 40K for years in the past, but nowadays he's all in on this Shadows of Brimstone or whatever, and has been painting those models and stuff like that. So it does, even when it's just a straight up board game, but it still has like cool miniatures, I think that does help our cause, as it were. So, yes. You can tell that Adam is off the leash this weekend. Just called the wife a trash panda on a live stream. We get my butt kicked in this house. This is her naming, not me. She is the one who has definitely identified as a trash panda herself. So yeah, this is not me telling. This is nothing new. This is not her going, my word, I've never been. Yeah, no, she's told me that she's the trash panda. So there you go. And it's true. Yeah, she has a tendency to eat sometimes things out of the garbage. That's how that works. Speaking of garbage, it doesn't even feel that warm, so I don't know why it locks up like this. All right, we're going to do the first unplug. That didn't do anything. No? Huh. Can you guys hear me still? I don't know. I'll unplug that. Oh, that helped. Okay. I should have done that in the first place, probably. Spectacular. Great. Okay. Yeah, I do need to look into it, even though it's happening less. And again, I think it's the temperature, but still. All right. We got like a cool, like weird color change there when that happened. Fun. Girlfriend and I were just talking about how their house is completely white. Yeah, I've noticed that too. It's interesting. Brad says, I got into Age of Sigmar sort of accidentally because I wanted to paint my board game minis and I ended up watching Warhammer gameplay stuff. That is the plan. That's the way we get you. That's the idea. Joseph says, being a police forensics technician will cause camera addiction as well. I'm just saying. Yeah, I can see that. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, camera addiction is totes real, man. I watch, that's honestly, I watch far more photography videos on YouTube than I do wargaming videos, by a lot. So, yeah. I also watch other people play video games quite a bit on YouTube. Not a ton, but a decent amount. It's weird. I don't know. Very frequently, I'm not going to lie, I have those like on in the background. Sometimes I'm watching, sometimes I'm just listening. But the camera ones, like one's talking about photography, one's talking about videography, one's talking about new cameras and this, that, and comparing this lens and all that kind of crap. Those I like watch. Like I don't do other stuff. I'm watching, Soda Addict says that's how I got into it. I wanted to paint minis for D&D and fell down a rabbit hole. I've got these ideas. So I have a good relationship to some degree. I would say we're definitely acquaintances. I don't know that we're friends, but we're definitely acquaintances. But I've had several now, speaking about camera addiction, several long conversations with a man named Lincoln Damhurst. And Lincoln he and Steve Aldi are like the two people who started, I believe, and run Board Game Geek, which is a huge monster of a website. It's humongous. Lincoln and I have, like, we first met at, I want to say Origins 2 years ago and had a long conversation. And he knew me from YouTube. He like recognized me, and so it was a thing. We started talking, and now anytime that I'm at a convention that the Board Game Geek folks are at, I go and talk with Lincoln. And I've talked with Aldi as well, and also a super nice guy. But both of them are familiar with the channel. Lincoln's a fan, likes the channel quite a bit, and I appreciate that. And he's a super nice guy, and we talk about camera nerd stuff and things like that because we're both into that kind of jazz. Anyway, when I talked to him last at Gen Con, I was like, we need to figure out a way to work together. Because my thought process is, if I could start doing some videos for Board Game Geek, like as a secondary thing or something like that, and basically be teaching teaching you as a board gamer how to paint your Shadows over Brimstone dudes or whatever, that kind of stuff, that would not only be helpful to the board gamers and maybe bring some people into their channel, or however we would have to work it out, whether these videos would show up on their channel or my channel, or they'd link to them or whatever. But it would potentially also get people also more into miniatures, more into my channel and that kind of stuff. So that's an idea that I've been banging around in my head for like the last couple of months, and I need to get it a little bit more solidified and sort of make an email to Lincoln and be like, hey, this is my like preliminary proposal idea. What are your thoughts? Maybe we get on like Discord or Skype or whatever, and chit chat about it as well. But it's an idea, because I think that I could also do the same type of thing in role playing. Like I could work with some other big role playing channel and be like, look, this is my tips on how to quickly paint and get all those kobolds painted that you need, Miss or Mr. Dungeon Master, so that you've got like a cool looking thing going on. And again, not only teach things to the role-playing folks, but also potentially then get some of them to be like, I'm interested in that Warcry or Underworlds and that kind of stuff. So yeah, definitely. Anyway, that's the idea. So I've been kicking around that quite a bit lately, and I want to pull the trigger on that. That's one of those Friday things too. So there's that. Brad says, oh, definitely, Scythe is more on the board game side of things, but it's one of those games that everybody wants to paint. Yeah, and they're great looking models. And it's great art. I mean, Scythe is awesome looking. I just don't, I seriously like regular, traditional, or let me take that back, regular board games. I just don't seem to enjoy playing. I don't know why. I don't know. I'm sure it's a character flaw, but there it is. Roger says, on a content note, I used to really envy what you do with YouTube, Uncle Adam, but then I realized that you have to come up with topics and content consistently, and that has to be draining sometimes. I mean, it is. Honestly, I feel a little bit like I've been in a bit of a rut lately. I don't know. I'm trying to think up new ideas. Like, I want to start. I actually was doing it yesterday during my Friday, work day for Tabletop Minions. I was kind of trying to come up with slightly new places to shoot in my relatively tiny studio, so that I could just kind of break up, like, always like me and the light and the thing and the what. Like, I want to be able to figure out ways to maybe move things around and use more of the studio, because it is a cool looking studio. It's just tiny. Like, the setup that I've got currently for my normal Friday videos is about the best if I want like a nice blurry background, because it's about the longest shot I can get in the studio. And so, because it's kind of long and skinny, and so yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to break the mold a little. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I do have a narrative style video that I shot a while back that I would like to get finished editing. It's a little bit more work than a normal Friday video. I'm also doing it in a different editing software. I'm doing it in DaVinci Resolve instead of using Sony Vegas, and so I'm just like a learning curve, and I don't know. I would love to get it done by Halloween. I don't know if that's going to work out, but it is a little bit of a horror kind of story. It's real short. It's like maybe a minute and a half. But I don't know. I'd like to give that a try, but we'll see how it goes. I should look at the calendar and try to figure out an actual date, set myself a deadline, and make it work, but we'll see how it goes. Let me see. Paul Noxie says, I've never played Scythe on a table, but I have it on PC/Steam. I like it. Oh, I had no idea that was you could play it on a PC game. That's interesting. Elaraxic says, when I was at camp one summer, one of my roommates was reading a fantastical book called Craftworld Eldar. He let me look through the books, and he had it with him, and he settled on reading the Tyranid book. Yeah, that'll do it, too. I mean, I got into GW stuff through Space Hulk. So, yeah, reading all the weird, like, kind of fluff and stuff that was in that relatively thin little Space Hulk instruction manual. But still, it was, like, learning about the Emperor and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, Jesus. Everything slid again. Alexic says, he let me borrow the book after camp. I tracked down my local GW, bought the Battle of McCrag? I've never been able to figure out which one that is. Starter. That's the story about how my wallet died. Yeah. One of these days, I'm going to actually, like, I don't think I ever bought the actual battle box for that. But I do have the terrain. It's in a drawer somewhere, and I should really like paint it up and try to make it nice, but also see how fast I could do it. Like, that would be a terrible video, because I'd be like, oh yeah, you could do this, and people would be like, cool, where can I get that? And I'd be like, oh, you'd have to go on eBay, basically, because that's old. That's like 4th or 5th edition, I think, if I remember correctly. So yes. Okay, let's see here. VJ Morph says Board Game Geek is great. Yeah, it's an amazing empire that they've built. It's really really cool. Soda Addict says Beastgrave finished on to COS. Can't wait to paint the Beastgrave stuff, but I need a day with good prime weather. Yeah, I don't see myself painting. Like I said, I think in the video, I don't know if I see myself painting the weird elven dudes with the goat feet, but I'm definitely painting the beastmen, beast folks, beast people. So yeah, that's and I'll prime them probably. Am I gonna prime them brown or am I gonna prime them like desert tan color? That's a good question. I'm not sure. Hey, look, that's okay. We're back. Yeah, but so that's coming up sort of soon, but they're already built. But they're definitely going to happen. I thought about like maybe priming. Like today's not a bad day out. Like what's the temperature? Hell, it's 59 outside right now. I could technically go out and prime after this, but those guys I'm going to prime in my airbrush. This is international symbol for airbrush, evidently. I don't know. Adam, did you read the Horus Heresy books? Just finishing up Galaxy in Flames. Okay, let's see. I've read at least the first 3 or 4. I know I've read the very first one, which I think is called Horus Rising. And then there's the one, like, and actually I've just started listening to them again, too. And I finished Horus Rising and started the second one. Flight of the Eisenhorn. I know I've read at least 3 or 4 of the first ones, like because they're kind of chronological, and after that they sort of go off the rails and are all over the place. But I've not read all of them, not by a long shot. But I've definitely read the first at least like 3 or 4, and I've started re-listening recently while painting to the first couple. So yeah, actually I should be able to pull out my Audible and check that stuff out. Let's see here. Audible, you're right there. There you go. Let's look at my library. I cannot tell you how happy I am that you can now actually buy Audible books on the Audible app. Good God, that was annoying when you couldn't. Let's see here. Where are we? So the first one is Horus Rising. I am currently halfway through False Gods, which I believe is the second one. Then there's Galaxy in Flames, which I think is the third one, and the fourth one is Flight of the Eisenstein. So I've got all 4 of those now currently in my Audible, but I've only listened, and I've read them all in the past. But recently, I only listened to the first one all the way through, and I'm about halfway through the second one. So, yeah. I have to be in the right mood to listen to those, honestly. Because there's times when I'm out of podcasts, and then I'm like, oh, I'll just listen to one of those Horus ones. And I start listening to it, and I can't, I don't know if my mind wanders or whatever. Sometimes it's the guy who reads it who, like, puts me off a little bit. And then I end up listening to some other book instead, which is fine. VJ Morph says, I won a copy of Beastgrave. Pretty stoked about that. Nice. That's pretty cool. LRX6 says, I've debated picking it up. I love me some Beastmen. Yeah, same here. Beastmen are awesome. I just love their crazy Beastman faces. I was digging through something in the basement recently, and I just found a Trader Guard like kill team army that I had built but not yet painted. That is basically all guardsmen but with Beastman heads, and I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta paint those guys up. Although now there's so many different, better, honestly, really good Trader Guards, like all the stuff that was Blackstone Fortress. So there's like, I love the Blackstone Fortress Trader Guard too. But I also like the idea of like weird mutated goat people guard. You know, it's, I don't know. Sorry, I gotta scratch my nose. John K says, I've been living in a hotel for 2 months, moving to a new house next week, and can't wait to have a hobby space and game space again. Yeah, that'll be very nice. I'm glad that you'll be moving in very soon. You could, if she was online, which she'll be watching this later, hopefully. But yeah, Emily ends up, because she travels a lot for work, so she's been ending up having to paint like in hotel rooms and stuff like that, and it's not the greatest. So yeah, I totally understand that. DMH Flip says, start using a green screen. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I own one of the Elgato green screens. It's at the studio. The cool pop-up one. Yeah, they're really kind of nice, actually. So I've thought about doing that once I move stuff down to the basement. Because then I could still make it look like I was up here to some degree. And I could do that. And that'd be fun. And then... But I could also then superimpose stuff between me and the background. Like I could make it look like the background was on fire. And be like... that'd be kind of fun. VJ asks, Adam, how is Resolve doing? I'm very interested in hearing how you go about coming from Vegas since I'm in the same boat. DaVinci Resolve is what I use to edit the podcasts for the Game 4 podcast that I do, those videos. Now, admittedly, there's not a lot of hardcore editing going on there. But I do like it. I think it works well. There's a part of me that was like, I'm going to eventually end up making the Friday videos all done in Resolve, but I don't know if that's true. I've been doing the Friday videos for so long in Vegas that I think that I could see myself sticking with it in Vegas. That being said, when I want to do more like different stuff, like narrative stuff for this channel or even other videos for other people and just other film stuff, I could see myself sticking with Resolve. But I need to learn it better. Specifically right now, I need to learn the color grading stuff a lot better than I know it. Like I understand the editing portion of it pretty well. It's in my opinion, the editing stuff in DaVinci Resolve is easier to figure out than Premiere's version of that. The NLE is very much easier in my opinion than it is in Premiere. But the color grading stuff is a little different than I'm used to. It's more node oriented and I don't understand it as well. But I've got some, I paid for an online class where you get access to all these, and this from a company called, I think it's filmsimplified.com. They had like a full blown, like huge DaVinci Resolve class. And so there was that. And I paid for that. It was on sale. They had some sort of special sales, like $97, and you get access to all this stuff or whatever. And I've gone through the editing version, and I kind of went through a bit of the color grading, and I didn't finish it, and I need to go back and just find the time to do it again. So, LRX6 says the Crash to Kill a Lander is a very cool terrain kit. Yeah, I've always liked it. I also have, there's a terrain kit, I don't think they make it anymore. Maybe they do. It's about yay big, rectangular, and it's got a couple of craters and like a destroyed rhino, in there, and then some trees. And a friend of mine gave it to me for my birthday years and years and years ago. But the problem is that, so I made the doors open on the top of the rhino, and I'm like, that looks really cool. But the problem is that when you set it down on the table, you can just see the table underneath it. So I'm like, So I took foam core and a marker, and I traced like a thing to stick underneath there, and I want to do some texturing inside and glue it all together and then paint it. And once I built that thing for the inside for foam core to keep the inside of the Land Raider, it just everything stalled, and it's been sitting in my basement for a long time. I've worked on tons of other things since, but I need to figure that figure that out, and use that piece of terrain too. The thing is that, well, I mean, I could use it in Kill Team, I guess. That's true. It's not huge. I could use it in Kill Team. I could use the Kill Landers in Kill Team too if I wanted to. I'm hearing a sneezing cat. Somebody's had a cold. I think it's been Margot. VJ Morph says, have they released Age of Sigmar War Scrolls for the Beastmen and Goatfeet Elves yet? Being told yes. You can find the links on the product page. Nice. Brad says, I'm excited about the Wolf Goblins coming up for Beastgrave. Yeah, I think I might be. But really, for me, it's basically the Nurgle. Since they're not going to do friggin' Lizardmen, then it's the Nurgle one, and that's like the only other Beastgrave that I can see myself picking up, probably, from what I've seen. Beastmen are a unit in Servants of the Abyss. You can use them for that. Yeah, they're super cool there, too. I mean, I would probably just use them as normal, again, like Traitor. I would honestly just run them as regular guard and just say that they're Traitor guard, but just run them with the normal guard rules. The ones that the goat people heads that I put on regular guardsmen. So that they don't get to use any cool, chaos crap, but that's fine. I'm working on building a new Chaos Warband and I've got the leader finished. Took some conversion to get him. I'm going to do a video or something, or at least show him off on Instagram soon. But yeah, going through the rules for chaos, like regular bog standard chaos in Kill Team, there's really they're not competitive in my mind, which is fine. I just want to build them, but it's going to be probably again. I'm going to have your average your aspiring champion. He's going to have a power sword and a plasma pistol. Going to have a gunner with a heavy bolter, gunner with plasma gun. Heavy bolter will probably be a heavy, probably, and then the other one will be a sniper with the plasma gun, which gives him a benefit. I think I'm probably going to do that. And then I'm not sure if I'm going to even run a third specialist or if I'm just going to say screw it. And then I don't know. I'm not sure what to do with the rest of them. I've been looking at it's like 49 points right now in Battle Scribe, and I'm like, I need 51 more points, and I'm like, a bunch of cultists, I guess. I don't know. So I'm just trying to figure it out. I just want to do something cool looking, and I kind of don't care about how they run as a. That's kind of my normal mode, is where I'm like, I just want to do it, and make them look cool, but I kind of don't care if they're good or not. Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, but we will see. VJ Morph says, anyone else hear the rumors that GW is going to release a full Traitor Guard army/faction? That would be friggin' awesome. That would be super friggin' awesome. Wub says, Chaos... Oh, I thought you said Chaos Canadians, and I'm like, well, that would be sort of interesting, but you actually said Chaos Cadians, which is actually also interesting. That'd be a lot of fun. Hey, look, this stopped. See, I spoke too soon before, and I was like, oh, everything's fine. Everything's fine. No, it's fine. It's totally fine. Hello. There we go. So, yeah. Chaos Canadians would be pretty cool, but Chaos Cadians would also be very cool. Kelly says, Adam, the White Dwarf magazine has had the order of GW books on a chart in the back. Have the order of GW books? Oh, I see what you're saying. The order, yeah, of the Black Library books. Gotcha. Yeah, I thought you were talking about codexes. Right. Yeah, I haven't heard about that thing with the Traitor Guard army faction. That'd be pretty sweet. Alarexic agrees. I haven't heard that, but I really hope that they do. They did release all the Blackstone minis separately, after all. Yeah, that's true too. And I mean, they were awesome models. You would be silly not to, in my opinion. VJ Morph says, Chaos Canadians sounds like an oxymoron, eh? Well, see, that's the trick. That's why it's interesting, I think. Yeah, I don't even know what that would really entail. Frankie D. Bailey says that camera link needs a little purgatory fire. You need to order some salamanders. Well, see, that's the problem, is that it would be, if it was on fire, it would be even worse. I mean, definitely. Paul Noxie says that my Chaos Kill Team was just built for cool, just what looked good and fun to play. Yeah, same here. I mean, I'm not going to lie, Heavy Bolter is not bad in the game. I've done some work with a Heavy Bolter. It's fun. Because I already have a Chaos army Chaos Warband for Kill Team. But it is just basically dudes that I took from my old 1,500 or 2,000 point Chaos army. So they're all TAC Marines, the smaller kind of style, like Chaos style dudes. They're Black Legion. Yeah, predominantly painted Black Legion. But I bought a box of the new Chaos, Space Marines, and they are larger than the old ones. And I picked up, he's the guy that comes in Blackstone Fortress. I can't remember his name. It starts with an O, I think. And now they're selling him separately. And he's carrying a power hammer and then a plasma pistol in the other hand for some dumbass reason. I don't know why they gave him a power hammer. I mean, I know there's rules for him. He's basically, I think, the commander in Servants of the Abyss, I think. But I'm going to use that same model. I picked one up, the separate model that you buy, as opposed to using the one that's in Blackstone Fortress, which I'll use later on. Anyway, I picked him up, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to use this guy instead as the new leader of my new Chaos army that I'm going to build. And then I was looking in the rules in Kill Team, I'm like, there's no power hammer in there. What the hell am I going to do? Well, when you see what I did, it'll be cool. I basically just found a Chaos Power Sword and then did some converting and got rid of that damn hammer and gave him a Chaos Power Sword. And honestly, I think it turned out way better than that hammer. Because the hammer, it looks like he's just like walking to the store carrying a pistol, and like it's a decent sculpt, but it's not a decent pose. I guess maybe it looks a little ominous, but it doesn't look like he's doing anything. Now, because I've modified it, it's down in the basement. I'd show it to you now, but I can't because it's in the basement. But he's carrying this sword, and I've, instead of having it where it's like in front of him, because I'm like, well, that's gonna be a pain in the ass to try to paint it if it's like real close to his body. I turned it out so he's like marching forward, right? And he's got this sword, and the tip of the sword now is up like right in his line of sight. Like he is pointing the sword, not directly, but the sword, and he's like looking at you, and the sword is in the way, and he's like, this is coming. And I think that looked a lot cooler, and I kind of wish that they would have done that, honestly, in the original one, because instead he's just holding this hammer and just sort of walking. So anyway, when I do the picture, I'll show it to you. And yes, Obsidious Malix, that's the guy. So they're selling that model separately now, not calling him that. He's just called like Chaos Lord or something like that. You can buy him in one of those, you know, those little clamshells. I don't seem to have any around here for once. That's weird. But yeah, I picked him up someplace, and then I modified him, and it turned out pretty well. I haven't painted him yet, but he's... Yeah, I did the bases. Yeah, I did the texture for the basing, so actually I should try to prime him. Well, see, here's the problem. This is the issue. So I want to start working on these guys, but I have not figured out yet how, like, they're Chaos, and the previous Chaos army that I built was Black Legion, which means that they're unmarked. So now my question is, do I bother marking these guys? Do I... Like, I'm not... I don't know. I haven't figured out if I want to use a mark. And if I do, the only reason to use a mark really is because then you have the icon. So I got to have an icon. And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out, like, how I want to paint them before I go ahead with that. So I'm not going to just prime him and then be like, oh, I guess I should have primed him in red instead of black. Because that would have, you know... So I don't know. I got to figure that out. So... And I still got to figure out the rest of the list. I think that's important as well. So we'll see how that goes there. Wub says, this is my shopping hammer. He just, the normal model just kind of looks, looks like he's kind of ominous, like he's coming for you, but it looks like he's kind of coming slowly, and then he'll eventually think about hitting you. Like I said, I think that the way that I modified him with that sword looks a lot better. So I'll post a picture of it very soon. Soda Addict talking about post-Hockey Cup win riots, and then that's how you get your Chaos Canadians. Yeah, I can see that. BJ Morph says, between Blackstone Minis and some of the other releases, they have most of the range for Chaos Canadians. So in the words of Adam, they've got that going for them. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they don't. They should just... I mean, not a bad idea. Just make a new book, make a new codex, whatever. And you could mix in, if you wanted to, even some of the... Well, no. I was going to say you could mix in some of the, like, Cadian models that they sell that are, like, actually technically Gene Stealer cults, and they give you the extra sprue with the extra heads and the icons and stuff, but they wouldn't be the same guys. I've thought about buying those and modifying them, trying to make them look more like Chaos, and only using the bald heads that have not gone, like, totally weird Gene Stealer yet, you know? But, yeah, I haven't done that. Lord knows, because I just found a box of Goat People guardsmen down in the basement, so I don't need to go ahead and build more guardsmen. So there's that. Roger Overstreet says, my Imperial Guard kill team is all can jungle fighters. It's 16 guys, even with special weapons maxed out. I like using them in kill team. Like, I like my regular Acadian army that I have for a kill team right now. And if you're one of the few people who got to watch the behind the paywall Vault membership battle report I did when I was in Canada at Mini Wargaming, my Imperial Guard force did pretty well against Matt, and so that was cool. He was running my Death Watch, and I was running my Imperial Guard, and I'm like, well, this isn't going to work out great for me, but it actually worked out quite well. Admittedly, I think I was very lucky with the dice for once. Maybe I need to be in a different country for my dice to get better. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Honestly, I haven't been able to watch that one because I used to be a Vault member. I was a Vault member for years, and then I think that my credit card information changed or something, and then I didn't, and then I just haven't signed up yet again. I don't know why. I just didn't, and then so I was like going to watch it. I'm like, oh, that's right, I'm not a member anymore. Oh shoot. Okay, well, so yeah, but the The other one that was out in the normal YouTube area that he and I did, where I played my Primaris Templars versus he was playing my Death Guard. That one, the views on that are really good, actually, in comparison to a lot of other the rest of their bat reps. I was kind of surprised. I was just looking recently, and I was like, oh, the number's a lot higher than I expected. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, that was a fun one. I see Dave lately, on and off. Dave from Mini Wargaming has been wearing the punk rock Pachow shirt quite a bit. I've seen him on a couple of different things like that, so that's been fun. Soda Addict says that hammer is terrifying in Blackstone Fortress. You can't roll defense saves against it. Well, that is bad. Yeah, that is terrifying. I wish that there was more in the Kill Team book for Chaos than just because you can only take the aspiring champion can only take a power sword or a power fist. Like that's it. I'm like, well, that's kind of a bummer. And then I thought, is there a way I can give that guy a power fist? And I was looking, and I couldn't find a great right-handed power fist. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, power fist, he's only going to hit on 4s instead of hitting on 3s, and it's a whole thing. And so I went with the sword instead, and I think it turned out well. So there's that. Let me see. VJ Morph asks, Adam, what's your next big hobby trip? Well, it's not a big one. Well, actually, I put the word big in there. You didn't. Sorry. My next trip is actually next weekend. I'm going to Dragonfall. I should really figure out where it is. I know it's in northern Illinois. Dragonfall. Oh, geez. Turns out... here we go. Turns out there's also a Shadowrun game called Dragonfall. It is in Elmhurst, Illinois. And that's where I will be next weekend. I have no idea what I'm doing there. Like, I've been invited. I think they're putting me up in a hotel room. I don't know. Like, I don't think I'm teaching any classes that I know of. If I am teaching classes, I guess I'll do it, But yeah, it's a great little convention. It's in northern Illinois, Elmhurst, if you're into that. And there's Army seminar, or there's hobby seminars, which is cool. There's some vendors. They've got a big, huge charity auction raffle thing. Moderator Matt runs that and has really structured just a whole bunch of stuff and gotten a bunch of people in there. Oh, well, there's going to be a bunch of folks there, too. Shoshi Bauer's going to be there as an artist. Drew Drescher, Anthony Wang, John McAvoy, Preston Bernard, Ryan Maloney. Oh, well, that's cool. So anyway, that's where I'm going to be. Me and moderator Matt going to be hanging out. There will probably be some cocktails. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, that's where I'll be next weekend. And that's pretty much, and I'm driving to that. That's not even like a flight thing. But that's probably going to be it for travel this year, I think. I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to go to Las Vegas Open or not. I don't know yet. I should probably pull the trigger on buying airplane tickets, though, eventually. So, yeah. Soda Addict says, it's kind of ironic that a few of the new Blackstone Fortress heroes are melee or close range focused when you really just can't melee versus Obsidious without getting MC hammered. Well, yeah, that makes sense. Like, why go up against him when you can't protect yourself from him? That's kind of odd. Trey says, heh. People at the yarn shop asked me about my secret symbol shirt. Nice. Roger Overstreet says, what is the secret symbol? It's secret, somewhat. It's one of the shirts on the merch bunker. Yeah, so it's because you guys are you're irregulars. So it's like what do you call it? Roman numerals. There's like 20, and there's like 13, and it's like turned. So 2013 that's when the channel started, March 2013, and also the 20th letter in the alphabet is T, and the 13th letter in the alphabet is M, like tabletop minions. Huh? See? Spooky. It's like the Illuminati. I'm trying to figure out actually other cool things, like reverse engineering other cool things into the secret symbol, and I've not had a great luck with it, as it turns out so far. But yeah, that's definitely the case. Let's see. Hey, Declan, I hope you're feeling better pretty soon. I mean, it's I hear that your dad says you've been sick the last couple of weeks. I was sick back in mid-September. I had a pretty bad cold, and it was worse than I. It was a pretty bad cold. I mean, I don't know what you got going on here, but I hope that you get better soon. And I hope that you start feeling better. But yeah, get well soon and get some rest. And I hope that your dad is able to help you with all those things, and then you'll get better. And then because let's see, over here we're going towards winter, but you guys are going towards summer, so you'll pretty soon have a good fun, like a lot of running around doing outside stuff and things like that. And over here on this side of the planet, we'll be getting cold. So but that'll be fine. We had a good summer, so it was cool. So yeah, I hope you get better soon. Let's see here. Wub says we need a secret handshake. I should think about that. Or a secret walk. Ooh. Frankie Lee Bailey says we have a secret handshake. It's only used at TMX. Did we come up with that? I don't remember coming up with that. Maybe you guys have a secret handshake and I don't have one. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Roger says, yeah, Papa Nurgle had a hold of you, Uncle Adam. Yeah, it was just like there's the what do you call it? The cliche of the man cold. Like, oh well, man gets a cold and then he's like, oh, I'm gonna die. And I didn't think I was gonna die, but I was like, geez, this is really holding on. Like, I'm still not throat wise like 100%. I feel I'm 95, maybe 90, but I still have a bit of a cough here and there. I've been pretty good so far, but I've been drinking soda, so I've been. But if I don't, I've been getting stuff still like a bit of a cough once in a great while. And that's a month ago is when I first got that. Like, I got that in mid-September. And, I thought I had the flu at one point, but then I started taking my temperature with the thing. You got a little digital, and you stick it in your mouth. And my temperature was fine. So I'm like, well, I don't think this is the flu, because usually you get a fever with the flu, I think. And I even asked my doctor about it. I had a checkup, a couple of weeks ago. And I told her about it and everything. And she's like, yeah, that doesn't sound like the flu if you didn't really have any kind of a temperature. And I'm like, yeah, I was fine. But I'm like, I was achy everywhere and even dizzy at some points and things like that. It was just, it was just terrible. But yeah, and then I did that live episode where I was like, oh, I think I'm getting better. And by the end of the episode, I was just like, I can't talk anymore because everything is stuffed up. And so that was no fun. Yeah, so I did get a flu shot when I was at the doctor's office, and we'll see how that works out for this upcoming winter. Sometimes it works, sometimes not so much. Let's see here. Frankie D. Bailey says there may have been a few beers during the secret handshake conversation, and then there was meat jelly. That's true. Well, if the secret handshake came up during, like, at the bar technically and not at TMX, then yeah, that's all bets are off in that situation. Actually, I have not. Have I been back to the bar? Have I been back to that bar since? I don't go out like I used to back in the day. I think that I have been there for something, and I don't remember what it was. I just noticed, like, you guys probably saw, like, there was, like, a weird, like, light moved by kind of a thing back there. If I was to do, I've just been thinking about this in my head. If I was to do a green screen of like, the background like this, and then that, all that kind of stuff, once I moved down to the basement, if I just took a picture, it would be completely static and never change, and that would be slightly weird. I almost would want to. This may probably make my computer really super unhappy too. I would almost want to do like film, like video background, so that there is some, like, the sun comes out from behind the cloud, the sun goes in front of the clouds, like car drives by in the street, like you can see. Well, that's me actually. I'm doing that. But that kind of thing might be. I don't know. Or that could be part of the joke, like the background never changes, and then but there's sometimes like have like robots walk by and all kinds of fun stuff like that, like in between me and the background. That's the only way you could do it with a green screen. Otherwise, everything would have to go in front of me because it would be a layover on top of this. Overlay, not layover. Anyway, Kelly says, Adam from the Irregulars, thanks again for all of this. We're super grateful for what you do for the hobby. Oh, I absolutely. I appreciate it, and I really am super happy that I've got a community of folks like yourselves that really like is also, I think, frankly, very interested in trying to kind of spread the hobby around and that kind of stuff. And I really appreciate the support. So absolutely, yeah. like I said, this later part of this year, I've been trying to think of different ways to like sort of, I don't want to say even branch out particularly, although I would like to do a little bit of that, like I talked about earlier with like Board Game Geek and maybe some sort of RPG thing where I could maybe work with some other site to teach RPG folks, teach board game folks how to paint, but also potentially maybe slowly start heading them over towards our neck of the woods, which really in the grand scheme of things, of the 4 genres in tabletop gaming, we're the smallest. Like, we talk about this huge company, Games Workshop and stuff like that, but in comparison to, say, like Asmodee, who owns nearly damn near every board game out there, yeah, tiny in comparison. And then, when you compare the entire wargaming or tabletop gaming, all tabletop gaming, and you compare it against an oil company that's not doing very well, they're still making more money than our entire industry combined, Like right now, I think the tabletop industry over the last couple of years has been hovering around 8 billion at best. And that's still like, yeah, that's not real huge in comparison to like video games or anything else. Or yeah. So anyway, that all being said, I appreciate the help. I appreciate the support. And I also appreciate trying to get more people into wargaming, because I think that, and I've said this a bunch before, I think it's important. I think that the actual hobby of it is pretty important. I think that as people need more hobbies, that maybe you want to tie flies because you're into fishing, but doing something, sitting down, listening to a podcast, an audiobook, working with your hands, I think that's really the big benefit of our particular hobby because of the stress relief and the meditative aspects of it and things like that. Like, I don't think I could ever sit down and actually meditate. Maybe, but it seems like, I don't know. I feel like my mind would wander a whole bunch, but I think there is something very meditative about like listening to like a podcast or something like that, or music or a book, and like working with your hands and building little goat people and stuff like that. And it's totally my jam. Frankie Lee Bailey says live backgrounds. Video of Nick Ramondo's eyes moving. That would be spooky, actually, if it just happened like a little bit. Like if I could figure out a way, like with, I don't know, After Effects or something, just to make the eyes kind of like look a different, or blink. Just like if it was a blink, that'd be hysterical. Have panoramic video where you can walk and talk. That's a lot more basement than I have. I don't think that's a good idea. If you did a video background, the loop would have to be hidden or it might drive me nuts. As a motion artist, loops that don't loop smoothly are a bit of a bugbear for me. Oh yeah, no, totally. That would bother me as well. It would be difficult, but I could maybe... Like, that's the thing, is my thought was, if I just shot an entire 2-hour clip, that's what would probably make my computer unhappy. But if I shot, say, a 15-minute clip and found a clear, clean loop, then that might not be so bad. And that would make the computer a bit happy. But we'll see how it goes. Joseph says, got to run all. Thanks for the show, Adam. Absolutely. Thanks for coming by, Joseph. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm trying to figure out a couple of these things. You want to talk about bugbears? That basement of mine, that's a bugbear. There may actually be bugbears down there. I know there's at least one bugbear model down there. No, owlbear. There's an owlbear model down there. But, because I bought one of those WizKids owlbears because they're cool looking. But that basement is just a goddamn mess. Like, if I was really smart and good, what I would do is I would, and I've been thinking about this, and I don't want to do it because it's not fun, but I've been thinking about like literally taking a break from the hobby, like not building, not painting, and just trying to clean the damn basement. Just try to get stuff dialed in down there. But there's so much of me that's just like, but I don't want to do that. I want to be able to come home and paint, or come home and build, or, come home and hobby in some fashion. I don't want to come home and, clean the basement, boo earns. But it really, really needs it. And I'm not just like, oh boy, it's a bit it's a bit cluttered. It's like, it's hard to get through. It's not like hoarding. I watched I just happened to catch a video about hoarding recently on some YouTube rabbit hole. Like, there's no, like, I don't have food containers and crap down there or what. Well, I take that back. There's actually probably there are some wrappers from granola bars, because I use those wrappers for the slaughter bases. I did a video about that years ago, but they're in a Ziploc bag, they're not just like laying around. So so I guess there's technically some food wrappers down there, but it's just clutter and it's everywhere. And I have a tendency to come home sometimes with stuff and then I just set it and then I don't So yeah, I just need to get that figured out, and I'm bad at it. I'm a slob. I'm not gonna lie. It's more, well, mostly clutter. Like, it's not like things are dirty generally, although there is a lot of cat hair, but that's just 4 cats. You're gonna get that. But like, if like one of the cat, like Diesel, we like to say he editorializes sometimes. If he's not happy with a litter box or with the geopolitical situation or wants to watch TV and we didn't let him, or I don't know what, he's just, every once in a while he's just like, I'm gonna poop right next to the litter box, which is annoying. But like, that gets cleaned up like right away. We don't mess with that. I mean, you do a bunch of antibacterial, whatever. Just a bunch of crap goes down to clean that up and all that kind of stuff. So that's not the issue. But there's always, like, the dining room table here, I'm not going to lie, there's always, like, stuff stacked and whatnot. So anyway, I'm trying to figure that out. Okay, well, Frankie Lee Bailey says, tying flies for fishing is actually what got me back into the hobby after being gone almost 10 years. These funny videos started popping up for this Tabletop Minions channel. Go figure. Oh, well, that's good. I'm glad. My dad used to tie flies because he was a fisherman. And actually, I was just over at my mom's, and we were cleaning out my dad's room because he passed away back in 2017, and found the wooden box that he built. Like, it's like he built it from scratch and put the little brass corners on the corners and the whole deal, you know, stained it and all that. And you open it up on the inside, and it's his whole kit for tying flies and stuff like that. So, gonna hold on to that. Brad says, I heart owlbears. Owlbears are pretty cool. I think they're way better than bugbears. Brad says, seriously, they are my favorite D&D monster of all time. I have an owlbear plushie from the Dork Tower guy. You know, I can't think of his name. Kavalik. I can't think of his first name now. Anyway, Ken? No. Brad? No. John Kavalik. He's a cartoonist who does this cartoon called Dork Tower. He's done it for years, and he lives in Madison, which is not real far from here. But a couple years, or more than a couple years back, he produced a like plush owlbear, which is hysterical, and I ended up getting one, and it's actually in the studio. But yeah, they're very cool. Well, you do have that extra day off a week now to get the basement clean. See, but that's the thing, is I'm going to be working on the channel, and I don't know. That's I should, though. I honestly should. Brad says, I've been trying to develop a habit of doing some hobby work every day. Lots of days that means organize the hobby space again. My dad used to be the same with his workshop when I was a kid. See, that's the thing. That's my main concern, honestly, is that I see people quite frequently who are like, well, I would build or paint, but I'm going to organize everything so I can build and paint better. Whereas I am completely fine with being completely covered in clutter, but I can still produce stuff. And like, I'll have like literally like almost no space left on my desk because it's just all paint bottles and stuff like that. And I'll be like, but I'll still be like, I'll have stuff sitting on my lap, you know, and it's fine. And I get things done, but I feel like I'm not producing things if I'm taking time to actually clean things up and organize. I'm not an organizer, never really have been. So that's part of my problem. Organizing the hobby space can almost be a hobby in itself, I noticed for me. I've been organizing the studio. That's part of what I've been doing also on Fridays a little bit, because I do want to make like a nice video that shows everybody like the finished studio and everything like that once it's all finished. And I'm getting close. Basically, at this point, I'm just like hanging stuff on the walls. That's really kind of the thing. But yeah, so I just trying to not, I don't know. I'm not sure. Working on the studio would be working on / for the channel. Well, working on the studio, yes. Working in the basement, it's sort of, but yeah, secondarily. Like the studio is a different story. So the studio, the stuff, like I don't film in the basement anymore. I used to. When I first started the channel, I filmed in the basement. So you go back to the very old videos, like the wet palette video, the how to paint bronze statue video, those were done in the basement. And you could see kind of clutter in the background. Then I moved into the little studio that I used to do stuff in. If you look at the video about the secrets behind GW's pricing structure, like that one was filmed in the little video. In that particular video, if you watched any of those videos from that time, if I reached this way about that far, I could touch a wall, and if I did the same on the other side, I could do the studio was 8.5 feet wide. Like that was the entire thing. The first videos I did with Sam were in that tiny ass little studio. Then I was like, this studio is too small and it annoys me, and I kind of cleaned out a good portion of the basement and then started doing my videos back in the basement again. I'm trying to think of, Why don't you just start? That's a video that was done in my second run in the basement again. And then now for about a year and a half, maybe more, I've been filming now in a studio downtown up above the coffee shop on the corner. And not well, there's multiple coffee shops, but up above the coffee shop I like to go to. And so yeah, I've been renting a studio out there, and it's more space, but it's still not huge. But that's where I've been doing it. You generally hear more outdoor noises from that studio because there's cars driving around and stuff like that. It's downtown. But yeah, that studio's pretty good. Like, it's nowhere near as cluttered as my basement is, and that's fine. But I just want to get it. I do want to make a video showing it off and whatnot once I get that all like completely dialed in. Anyway, that's where that's at. All right, well, it's 2:00. I should probably go and work on Stormtroopers for the video that I'm going to try to film tomorrow, and that's my plan. And then find out which fez I'm going to wear to the movie tonight. Paul Noxie says, I've been organizing as I go, about 10 minutes tidying before I start painting. I need to get into that habit. That's a good idea. Played my first game of Kill Team. Well, the wife and kids played while I ran the rules. Wife played Death Guard. Son, 8-year-old, played Orcs. My daughter, 11, played Ultramarines. Nice. That sounds like fun. Wub says, when my hobby space is together, it works in waves from the central cutting mat working out. Yeah, just like, yeah, well, that's not a bad idea. BB says, if it wasn't for your Kill Team videos, I probably wouldn't even have given Kill Team a try. Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. You know, you're welcome, definitely. Well, so anyway, yeah, I'm glad to hear that that's those things are still working out for people. And I don't know, I'm going to try to figure out a little bit about how to work cleaning the basement into my schedule. What I should do is just like an hour, not even an hour, half hour a day. Just make it a mandatory thing. I'll give that a try. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for showing up again and hanging out. And tomorrow I'm going to be talking about stuff in the live show. I think that tomorrow I'm going to be talking about my problem with video games, because when I was sick, when I had that cold last month, I didn't want a hobby because I was just like leaking everywhere. My eyes were watering. It sucked. And I basically just sat and played. Like, when I had times when I wasn't sleeping and stuff like that, I played a lot of Minecraft. And so I've been sort of stuck on Minecraft a little bit now. And I need to get unstuck from Minecraft because I need to get more hobby stuff done. I need to get the basement cleaned, that kind of stuff. So I think that's what I'm going to talk about. But there are also some video games coming up that I'm really kind of interested in. So that's probably what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. And also, obviously, you know, answer people's questions like usual. But that's the subject on a normal Sunday show is usually a very small portion of the actual 2 hours. But so hopefully we'll see some of you folks tomorrow, and we'll definitely see you folks again next month for this live show for the patrons, for the Irregulars, and I appreciate everybody. And I'm going to go get something to eat for lunch. So thanks a lot, and we'll see some of you tomorrow and some of you later on.